Hello. Welcome, everybody. Another episode of Marketing Corner Conversations. And today I'm so happy, so glad because finally I will have this amazing expert. It was funny because I was talking with Marcus a while ago because even before I actually met him in LinkedIn, I was talking about this example because the first time I heard about Marcus was because of this book, and the foreword of this book was written by the sales lion. I don't know if Marcus know who it is, and he talked about how we overcome this not so good situation with this company, Riverpool, by creating content. So I'm so glad to have him here to talk about this so important topic. And let me know, people on Amazon or LinkedIn. Hello, Colin. Welcome. So let me know, by the way, if you are already in the content world, if you are creating content, so we can have some questions here and let drop in comments your thoughts on this as well. If you are watching on Amazon, I already have highlighted this amazing book. It's kind of um, one of those 10 books you have to have if you want to succeed in business. And that's something that a little bird told me a few days ago about this importance of learning, but as well practicing, because I think there's a lack on that. Hello, Arnaldo. We are also okay. We are in Rio de Janeiro. We are seen on as well on South Africa. So let's bring this amazing guest to the show. Hello, Marcus.
Hey, we are finally together, Marco. I'm thrilled
Absolutely,
to be with you
absolutely.
today, buddy.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's a truly pleasure and an honor to have you here. I'm not. I'm truly serious because you know when I started this. Okay, I think it was even when I was graduating. I thought about marketing as something you should have in mind to help others to develop this trust, this confidence with people, and then hopefully, because you will talk a little bit about this after. People will buy from us because we built that trust,
Yeah.
right? So I really wanted to have you here on my show. So before we start, if you don't mind, to introduce yourself, and then we can start the conversation.
Yeah, Marcus Sheridan. Um, Started as a pool guy in 2001. Almost lost the business in 2008 and 2009, and that's when we really just started thinking about the way consumers think and the way they buy. And the way that starts is with ourselves, right? Because that's the easiest way that you can know how buyers think is by looking at yourself in the mirror. And so in my mind, I said, you know what? If we become the best teachers of fiberglass pools, we might save our business. And that's what happened. We got obsessive over our customers' questions. We addressed them on our website. And within about 2 years, we became the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. And uh, today, that company went on to become the largest builders of fiberglass pools in the US, a manufacturer, a franchise. We have franchisees now all over the United States, and an incredibly successful company. And I started a marketing agency during this time period, during this journey. Today it's called Impact. You can see that right here, and 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 of course I speak full time, except during pandemics, at which point I do lots of virtual stuff. But I had my first live in person event last week. I've got another one this week. So hopefully it means we're turning a corner and we can start to have more in-person events. So it's been an amazing journey for sure, Marco.
Absolutely, absolutely. And okay, you mentioned this live things, and I also made some public speaking gigs after this, before this, after not yet, and I'm gonna push some days ago when you talk about a kind of a feedback you had after the speaking ended, and it was someone who, after you shared so many insights, so many information, someone came to you, approached to you. I think I'm not wrong, asking
That's
for
right.
even more tips.
Yeah. Which
Don't
is
you think?
it's
Yeah,
crazy, Marco, right? Because somebody, and this is with the experience prompted another 100 other experiences where it's happened to me. It's so odd, right? It's very human, though. What happens is I give for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, and then somebody will come to me afterwards and in an email or in person, and they'll say, Marcus, this was so great. So what tips do you have for my business? And that alone shows me they're probably not going to make it. They are probably not going to do something exceptional in their space for a few different reasons. If they're asking, so what tips do you have for my business? It means they're seeing their business different than the ones I was already talking about. And you know me, Marco, I speak very much on a principle level, right? So
yeah,
generally the stuff that I'm teaching, whether it's a B2B service-based business or a business to consumer, e-commerce company, for the most part, it's kind of very straight across the board application. And so when somebody says to me, so what tips do you have for my business? It means A, they're being mentally lazy. B, they're probably excluding themselves and thinking they're different when they're not. And C, it means that they're on this journey of trying to learn in their mind. And that's how they get their feel good, is by learning. But we all know the only good stuff happens by actually doing the thing. And one other element to this I think is pretty interesting, Marco, and that is this. I have found over the course of time, when someone says to me, Marcus, can you show me examples of companies that have done that in my space, whatever I was teaching? They're not going to make it either. The reason why they're not going to make it, Marco, is because they're waiting for precedence in their industry. If you're waiting for precedence, if you're waiting for someone to have already done the thing, your mindset is completely off track. It doesn't work that way.
absolutely. It's kind of oh, we love innovation, we love creativity. Okay, let's innovate. Well, maybe it's better to wait for those to
That's
innovate,
it.
and then we
That's it.
go
We
after.
sit there and we say, "Oh, I want to be proactive. I want to be innovative," to your point, Marco. But we still want to see, "Oh, where's the proof in the pudding? I mean, who else has done this?" I'm like, people tell me sometimes, man, they're like, "So Marcus, has your agency worked with anybody in my space? Has anybody done?" They ask, you answer really well. I'm like, if they had, you wouldn't be asking me that question, because if they had, you would know them, you'd be thinking about them, and you'd be frustrated because they're taking your customers every single day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's get back again to the beginnings. And one of the things that I love about your approach is you speak, as you said, in kind of the same level, and you and it's something really common here in Portugal as well. Oh, it's, I understand your point, but my business, it's different. I
Right.
remember a few years ago, I was doing a training in a company, and I was saying, okay, you can use these digital tools to, because they were door to door almost sellers. And I say, okay, look, you can do this, and they said, we are Latin people, and our customers, they love to touch, they love to feel, and that's, and okay, and then suddenly 2019, 2020, there they came this COVID thing, and we had to go digital, even though we want or we won't. What your thoughts on this? Your experience on this resistance to go digital somehow and inbound, and suddenly, okay, we need to go.
It's your point about everybody things are different. It, this is one of the biggest problems that I see with businesses around the world. They don't understand fundamental human psychology and behavior. If we did, if we started that point, which I think every business should, human psychology and behavior, if you understand those things, and you don't have to have a degree to understand those things, you have to be a self aware person. If you're a self aware person, you're like, why am I using the internet like this? Or well, why have I changed this? Or look how I'm evolving as a consumer, as a buyer. Look how I'm making decisions today. That's why self-awareness makes the job of a marketer very easy.
Absolutely.
Many people aren't self-aware. So we say we're different, but every business is built on trust. Trust is not going away. I love to ask audience, when was trust born? When did it start? Didn't. Just is. Just is. So if it wasn't born, guess what? That means it's not going away either. That's how you can tell something's not going away. That's how you can tell it's a principle. When was love born? Love's always been. It's a principle. It just is. Okay. So when we say things like, okay, how can I become the most trusted voice in my space? That makes it really easy to adapt to new environments and adopt new things as you go because you're still applying the same principles. So, what worked on MySpace may have worked on Facebook as a principle will continue to work once Facebook is gone, which, by the way, that'll be a wonderful, glorious day. Right? So, that is the mindset that we have to have. Now, to your point about COVID, a lot of companies said, my customer likes to touch it, see it, feel it, taste it. Again, that means they're human. That's not special. Every single customer in the world would like to touch it, feel it, taste it, smell it. And so we have to find ways to make them feel like they have done that before they buy. The question is, are we going to limit their ability to buy, which is the problem that a lot of companies are facing, and they don't even know it, Marco, because we're entering an era of self-service with buyers. We want to control the entire buying process. We want friction-free buying. If I want to buy it without talking to a salesperson, that's what I want. If I want to learn pricing without talking to a salesperson, that's what I want. If you're not going to give it to me, I'm going to jet. I'm going to bolt. I'm going to get out of there. Gonzo, right? These are the things that we are saying. We're all responsible for it. Companies complain to me all the time, say, I don't like how people don't want to talk to salespeople. Huh. Well, guess what? You're guilty of that too. We all make up that group. I don't know somebody that's just like, I don't care about the internet. I don't care about information. I want to get all my learning from a salesperson. Doesn't exist, that person. So you haven't earned the right to complain about it because you, me, we are part of the problem. We are the ones dictating the trends.
Absolutely.
That's simple.
Absolutely. And there's something you mentioned, and getting back to your articles, the posts you make on LinkedIn, and for me it's crucial. You talked about how to trust,
Yep.
and talking about trust, we have to talk about two things: how you talk in an open way about prices, because
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm not showing. It's something that happens here often. I'm not showing the price because if I
Yep.
put the price, it's very high. People will run away from the price because yeah, I have to explain why so and why that and blah blah blah. And the other thing which you like to talk about is the I think it was one of the first articles you wrote about your competitors.
Yes.
And I think talking openly about competitors and prices are a nice way to generate that so important trust, right?
Well, you're going to stand out. Your competitors are not doing this. Remember, they ask, you answer is an obsession with the questions buyers ask, with their fears, with their worries, with their concerns. And so, if you're embracing this philosophy, which, by the way, if you're watching this, if you haven't gotten the book, just get the book. It'll change your life if you apply it. I promise. I mean, just will. If not, I'll send your money back myself. The thing about this mindset is you can't filter. Well, I like that question, but that one as a business owner, I really don't like it, so I can't talk about it. No, 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 no. If you get asked all the time, you have to address it. You have to address it well. Pricing's one of those things. We've done all the studies on this. This is inarguable. It's as true for B2B service as it is for B2C. And that is when people are on a website and they can't find cost and price information, they leave and they take their business and trust elsewhere. That's a fact. They don't
Absolutely.
call you. They don't just keep searching on your website. They leave. And so, with that being a fact, we have to ask ourselves, why do we not talk about pricing as businesses, especially B2B? We like to make up these reasons, Marco, and they're all terrible because when it comes to the court of logic, they don't even hold any weight. First one we say is, well, every job is different. I offer a very customized solution. Well, that's pretty lame because nobody's ever said while they're reading your website or researching your product, it's okay. They're not talking at all about cost and price because they're a customized solution. Now, they want to understand. They want to get a sense for things. Now, this might mean you can't give exact numbers, but you can always explain elements of what dictates value and pricing. So, for example, everybody should have a pricing page on their website. Pricing page should probably have what I recommend 5 sections of a pricing page. So, what are those 5 sections? First section, what drives the cost up of your service or product in your industry? Second, what keeps the cost down of your service or product? Third, why are some companies so expensive? Now you might say that sounds like the same thing as what drives costs up. No, it's not the same thing. So 3, why are some companies so expensive? 4, why are some companies so cheap? 5, where do you fall? Where do you align? So in other words, 80% of the content that you say about pricing, guess what? It's about the marketplace. It ain't about you at all. 20% is about you. You might talk about your average ranges and you might show some of your jobs or some of your projects, some of your solutions. You might say, this is how much this cost here in this, here's the reasons why. All of which for me as the viewer, as the consumer, is going to help me more to understand, but also to want to call you because I trust you more. Now, when it comes to competitors, you just got to look at it like this. If you've been in business any period of time, you've probably been asked before. So, if you or me, is there anybody else that you might recommend? Do you have any competitors that you highly respect? Right? If people ask you that, they mean they trust you enough to ask. People also all the time will say to you, so how do you compare with such and such? I was looking at this, I was looking at that. Tell me how you compare. So, once again, you can ignore it and act like the competition or other options don't exist, which is stupid because now you're the ostrich with your head in the sand. Or we can just say, you know what? Buyer ain't dumb. Buyer's going to find out eventually. So they may as well find out from me. And then that's what we do. We make it so that we are always dictating or leading the conversations in the marketplace. Now, this doesn't mean you say negative things about the competition. I don't suggest that. What I suggest that you do, though, is that you factually state whatever the truth is. If somebody said, if I was a Ford Mustang dealer and somebody said, can you do a comparison of the Ford Mustang versus a Chevy Camaro? Of course. Could you do it factually? Of course. Could you do it without opinion? Yeah, easily. So that's key. Now, one key element to this, Marco, that a lot of people screw up is that once you start talking about these things that buyers want to know, you set yourself up to sound really biased if you're not very smart about it. Got to be careful. So how do you do that? It's pretty simple. You always have to be willing to make them flinch. In other words, surprise them with honesty. Let me give you an example, Marco, just so it's easy for everybody that's listening to this. Let's say I was going to do a video on fiberglass versus concrete pools, and I'm a fiberglass pool builder / dealer. So in order to immediately win over my audience so that they're saying, wow, I can't believe this guy's so honest, I would say something to the effect of, so one of the questions we get here all the time at River Pools is, Marcus, be honest, tell me, why should I choose fiberglass over concrete? And the truth is, you shouldn't always choose fiberglass over concrete. In fact, there are times when concrete may be the better option. So what this video is going to do, it's going to explain to you the pros and the cons of both types of swimming pools. And then by the end, hopefully, you'll have a great sense as to which is the best choice for you. Now, that's how you win trust. But you know what most companies say, Marco? Why you should choose fiberglass over concrete. That's dumb. Don't state the premise in the title of the piece. You know how many businesses have a piece of content on their website that starts with why you should choose, why you should buy, why you shouldn't choose, why you shouldn't buy? That's the wrong way to say it, because I can immediately tell you're biased, right? Let's say somebody like me, I am a HubSpot partner, all right? So it would be dumb for me to say why you should work with a HubSpot, certified HubSpot partner. That's dumb. The way to say it, the way to state it is, should you really be working with a certified HubSpot partner? Question mark. An honest review. That's how you say it. Because I haven't just come right out and said, yes, which by the way, I wouldn't anyway, because not everybody should. And that's the truth. This is transparency. This is honesty. Again, those are principles. They've been around forever. They're inarguable in the efficacy. And so for some reason though, Marco, companies still resist doing the things that I'm talking about, which as I'm saying them, people are like, that's so obvious. No, it's not. No, it's not, because people still don't do it.
Absolutely. And we have Christoph Trapp here in the chat. Hello, Christoph. Welcome.
Christoph's a good dude, man. He's got a great podcast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's saying you're the man, Marcus. And I quote him. He quotes him. You constantly surprise customers with honesty. Absolutely crazy, we have to say, but that's he's right. And this,
Marco. But to that,
yes.
You should think of it like this, everybody. You should be able to, if somebody was reading your stuff, that was a serious buyer, or watching your videos, they should literally have a physical manifestation of surprise, like, huh, oh, whoa, huh. Like that's how they should look, because that's the way you look when you're like, I can't believe he said that. What? Man, these guys are so honest. Those are the thoughts that should be running through their head. If that's not what's running through their head, guess what? You're not doing it the right way.
Absolutely. And this leads us to another thing. For me, it's a complete myth. Okay, I'm not sharing. Okay, I will include two things about this, because the first one I think it's the most easy to solve, which is I don't have time enough to write content. And I remember when you started talking about this, the first times I read something about you is that your sales process decreased in time, something tremendous. If
Yeah.
I if I remember
Yep.
properly.
Yep.
And the
Because we
other
were
thing
integrating
is,
content into the sales process so
and,
intentionally. Right.
and the other thing is, I'm not sharing my secrets because my competitors will be looking how I do things and they will
Yeah.
copy me.
So dumb. So, let me just say this. When was the last time your competitors paid your bills? Never. Why would we allow the competition to ever stand between us and that magical emotion called trust? Yet we do it all the time. So many businesses, Marco, act like they have a secret sauce when they do not.
Absolutely.
They don't. I mean, I like you say, oh, I don't want to show my pricing to my competitors. Well, do you have a sense as to what your competitors charge? Yeah. Guess what? If you have a sense as to what they charge, they have a sense as to what you charge. This is the big secret, non secret. Everybody acts like nobody knows what everybody's charging, when in reality, everybody has a pretty good sense, at least, as to what everybody else is charging. And again, they haven't paid your bills. So why would you care about them? Besides, we started this from the get-go of this conversation. If we are basing our actions on our competitors, we are not an innovative company.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and that's a huge point. For instance, I remember when I started live streaming in 2015, people were looking at me, and I think, okay, this may be something. I if I was looking to others, I would be stopped till
Yep.
now, I think, and that's a thing. And I think we should also talk a little bit about this thing that you like as well, which is the new shiny object. Because, uh, for instance, I started in this in 2015, and I stayed here, even though there were people talking about TikTok and about that. But I remain in this, and I think it's also a challenging thing when we talk about content, about interacting, is people, okay, now I need to try TikTok. Now I know I need, and I also saw your posts about Clubhouse, and how
Yeah, I told people this whole Clubhouse thing drove me a little bit crazy because I had so many people invite me, and each time I cordially said I appreciate it, and each time I didn't join. Now, people say, why would you not join, Marcus? Well, everybody's talking about Clubhouse. Because what I do is I analyze human behavior. And I thought to myself, okay, I can go on a platform. I may or may not find what I'm looking for. Get all these rooms. People are pontificating and bloviating all day about whatever interests them. Okay. So, do I see the appeal? Sure. Not to me, though, because I am not one to just say, let me just blow an hour here. Let me just see if I can find some value over the next hour. No, sir. I got plans. I have goals. And I think most professional adults eventually would say, yeah, I'm wasting a lot of time on here. So my decision was I'm not going to join because the business model doesn't make sense to me. You show me a different business model, it might make sense to me. I believe in audio content a lot, by the way, and I believe in media, but I don't believe in Clubhouse as a long term business model. I don't think it's built to last. And guess what? All the charts and trends, they've proven me correct so far. Now, could I eventually be wrong? And by the way, I don't care that it's worth $1 billion. That means nothing to me. There's a lot of stuff. These zombie companies are worth nothing out there, yet on paper, they might be worth something. It doesn't mean anything to me. What means something to me is, as a buyer, as I'm, again, very self-aware person here, would that be something that over the course of the long haul I could enjoy? I get people on Facebook because you can go to Facebook, you can quickly be in your stream for 2 minutes, get what you want. You can get out if you want. Now, do they try to keep you in, suck you in? Yes. But you can choose how much time you spend easily. I can go to LinkedIn, I can post, I can answer some comments, I can leave. That's fast, that's efficient. People are like, I'm spending like 2-3 hours on Clubhouse, man. What if, this is great. Great? I got a thing called a life. That would not be great for me. I'm not trying to just pass, like find things to fill my day. My day's full. I have a plan. Clubhouse is not part of that plan. I don't fault anybody for loving Clubhouse. But to me, it's like you see this fear missing out. I don't have FOMO for nothing. If you're content with your life, why would we have FOMO? This advice of be everywhere is terrible advice. Awful advice. Show me someone that can effectively be everywhere unless they have an entire team of people around them that are producing content for them, repurposing that content. Be everywhere is a pile of horse manure. It is bad, bad advice. Instead, this goes back to the old phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. Be everywhere. It's like, be a master of none. No. You're much better off becoming a master of one. So, in my case, where'd I roll? I roll on LinkedIn. I'm good on LinkedIn. I make business on LinkedIn. And I don't focus on other stuff. It's not because they couldn't potentially be valuable to me. But guess what? I'm going to be great on LinkedIn. I've chosen to be great on LinkedIn. That's good for me. It might not be good for you. But you're much better off choosing one to be great with first, getting great with it, and maybe adding something to the mix than you are sprinkling yourself all over, which means you're diluted, you're watered down, and you never really get tremendous traction across the board.
Absolutely, absolutely, and this is important because there's so many. Okay, now you have to go to TikTok, and for instance, I didn't felt the thing about TikTok. I recorded 2 videos because okay, let's try at least. I've oh my god, this is not for me. So bye bye.
I don't want to live my life around fake dopamine hits.
Absolutely.
I'm just not interested in that. Um, most of what we see, I mean, look, man, I don't want to digress too much, but I was speaking in Florida last week, sitting on the beach, and I'm watching some teenagers take a bunch of photos that were staged. One of them was drinking out of this can of soda. The can of soda was empty. You could tell that it was empty, but it was a prop for a photo. And I thought to myself, that's no life right there. This person, their happiness will be contingent on the next post. How well did it do? Did it do better than the one before it? I was like, what? No, no, sir. We can do better than that. We don't have to join that fray. We don't have to be a part of that. And, if you want a sustainable business, if you want fulfillment, you got to get away from the vanity metrics. You got to get away from what is this constant need to be everywhere. Some of my most successful, most financially successful friends, acquaintances, you don't even see them on social media. Doesn't mean social media is bad. And everybody says, well, what about Gary Vee? Gary Vee's the exception. He's not the rule, friends. I like Gary. Gary's fine. He is the exception. And most of us are not Gary Vee. And Gary's got a huge team of people behind him that are helping him do what he does. And God bless him. And I hope he owns the Jets one of these days for his sake. But that's not you or I.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you brought me to another post from you. And oops, okay. You brought me to another post from you, which I think it's the right time to talk about it, because you said something like this. Usually, those people with a big following, with big engagements on LinkedIn, they 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 become a little bit lazy about choosing the right
Very lazy.
contents.
Let's not even
Uh,
say a little bit. It's easy to get very lazy.
yes.
Now, very lazy can work though. So, for example, I have a choice that I make every day. So I have a like what would be a mid-tier following on LinkedIn. I don't have a massive following. I don't have a small following. I've got a medium following, let's call it. Okay. It's about 30,000 people, whatever. If I wanted to, what I could do is this. I could find just motivational style stories of individuals on a Twitter feed that just talk about, hey, this person was in this bad situation. Here's where they are today. Typical case of hero's journey. And I could just show that as a photo, as a quick story, and say, this is what's possible. And it would crush. There's a
So
temptation to that, Marco. There's a temptation to that. But what is my personal growth out of that? Nothing. So, what route do I take? I don't know if it's the best route for everybody because it's going to limit your amount of followers. The route that I take is I push myself to come up with innovative thoughts that are mine. And I share them. Some of them do really well. Some of them are just like, blah, okay. Now, the third way you could do it on LinkedIn, you just comment on everybody's stuff all day, every day. Spend 2-3 hours commenting on everybody's stuff. And eventually, your following will really start to grow. That's fine. But is that the best use of your time? I can't say. Yeah, you'll grow an audience that way. But was the audience based on the way you thought, or is it because you made such a strong group of friends that naturally you built that network? Now, somebody might say, well, they're both good. True. Somebody might say, well, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because what if you've got great thoughts, but nobody sees them because you're the billboard in the desert, right? Because you don't have that network. So you build your network. True. Should you give back on LinkedIn? Yes. Should you spend 2 hours a day answering other people's posts and commenting just to get your face out there? I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know, man. There's clear arguments to be made. I could tell you it's not incredibly fulfilling. That, what we're talking about there, Marco, that existed around 2009, 10, 11 in the blogosphere. Used to be in the blogosphere. This stopped for the most part. But in the blogosphere, which was at its peak around 2010, 11, people were commenting on everybody's stuff. It was almost like this whole weird comment share economy. And the thing about that was, I remember that I was getting at one. So I started off my blog, nobody read it. Then I was getting one comment. Then I was getting 5 comments. Then I was getting 10. Then I was getting 25. Then I was getting 50. Then I was averaging over 100 comments per post at one point. But I was also spending 2 hours a day probably commenting on other people's stuff. Is that good or bad? I don't know. It wasn't built to last, though, because guess what? You don't see it today. You don't see it today. That went away in the blogosphere. And I suspect it'll go away with LinkedIn. It's just history repeating itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now you're you're making the bridge to something I learned from you, and this was something really important at that time. I was doing this. Oh my God! The certification on HubSpot,
Yeah, yeah. Sales
sales
enablement.
enablement.
Yep.
Yes, yes. And I started the course, and then you appeared, and oh my God, Marcus Sheridan is here! Ooh. And you talked about something, and I think it's one of the most common mistakes on content, which is which stage of the buyer journey of the sales funnel should we focus mostly when we don't have an amazing team to write down content about us or to help our customers, because usually we just think about the awareness stage, and this is so bad.
It's really, really bad. The litmus test that I always tell to companies is if you produce that piece of content, that article, that video, whatever that thing was, would a member of your sales team, let's assume that you have this person, would a member of your sales team immediately say, yes, I have been waiting for this. Man, I am dealing with this all the time. Holy cow, I'm so glad I have this tool in my toolbox. If they're not saying that, Marco, there's a very good chance that it's a piece of fluff and it's not, once again, built to last. There's a massive difference between content that generates sales versus content that gets shared on social media. Now, sometimes, yes, there's overlap. Let me give you an example. Again, let's say I'm a pool guy, right? So I could go on Facebook and I could share an article, and it was maybe 5 fun games that would be perfect for your swimming pool party this weekend. Now, that might do really well on social media. I'm like, well, that's great. Guess how many people have asked our sales team over the course of 20 years of business, so what are some fun games that we could play in our swimming pool for our party this weekend? No freaking buddy has ever asked that question. So what that means is if I produce that piece of content, I have wasted my time. Somebody might sit there and defend it. Oh, no, you haven't, because people became aware of your company. Oh, crap. They became aware of 5 fun games to play in their pool, but this is not somebody that is going to do business with me probably ever. Furthermore, the reason why it's a waste is because I spent time on that. Time is a resource, it is non renewable, it is a gift from God. And so every second we spend on something is a second we can't spend on something else. If I spend an hour on crap content, it's an hour wasted that could have been spent on good content. That helps my sales team. That closes deals. The other side to this, though, that's so interesting, Marco, is when you start thinking about bottom of the funnel based questions, like top of funnel, should I get a pool? Middle of funnel, what's the best type of swimming pool? Bottom of funnel, what's the best fiberglass swimming pool shape for my backyard? That bottom person, they're buying a pool. They're buying a fiberglass pool. They just need to know what size they're getting. Educated buyer, bottom of the funnel. That's where you play. But what's funny about it is that's generally the best for search engine optimization as well, for SEO. Generally the
Yeah.
best by far. So it works better from a marketing lead gen standpoint. Google freaking loves it. And your sales team loves it. Or You can choose to talk about 5 fun games to play in your swimming pool. Hey, but I got 5 likes on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I think it's kind of crazy and funny. Well, it depends on the perspective. Is this because I've seen this so many times? People saying, "Oh, the problem is that by these days our customers know even more about our business than even ourselves." And I say, and why? Because they go to Google, and I say to them, look, do you know that you could be that source of information on Google? And I
Mhm.
say, uh, because I think the other thing is I don't feel myself as an expert. I don't see that this information my business is generating, as you add this vision to see, okay, I'm getting information, I'm generating information about my business because I've learned how to do things. I've learned the most common questions, and
Yep.
I've been preaching this all the time. The knowledge you generate in your business is also something that you can somehow monetize. Your thoughts on this? Because I think people usually, okay, I just do this. I'm not on the other side of the things.
Yeah, I mean, so I just believe that we're all teachers. Um, Once you realize that, accept it and run with it, it's amazing. It's amazing what can happen. I also think we, there's this thing called the curse of knowledge, Marco, and it really means a lot of things. But one of the things that happens as a result of the curse of knowledge is, we've got information in our head because it's so obvious to us. We feel like it's not valuable to the marketplace. That's just not true, right? I mean, you're a technical guy. You know a lot of technical things that you've forgotten more technical stuff than I ever even remembered, right? I mean, that's you. Um, it's a tragedy if you devalue that because of familiarity. Yet that happens all the time, and it leads to poor communication as well. If I just assume that you know what I'm talking about, that's a problem. If we're great at content, if we're great at marketing, we don't assume the audience knows what we're talking about. We're always saying to ourselves, is it possible that the audience doesn't understand what I'm saying right now? Do I need to add the caveat? Do I need to add the explanation? Because what we don't want to ever appear as is above our audience. We want to say it in such a way that they absolutely understand it. It's dumb not to dumb it down, my friends. I
Absolutely.
cannot repeat that phrase enough. It's dumb not to dumb it down. The goal isn't that you sound smart. In fact, if that's your goal, and believe it or not, Marco, that's a lot of people's goals, man. They don't even
Absolutely.
realize it. They have no idea they're doing it. I watch people because, I do a lot of communication training. Somebody stands up on a stage or does a recorded video. You can immediately tell, and they don't realize this, they're trying to sound smart. They're trying to prove that they belong on that particular stage in that particular moment. And once we release that need to appear smart, it changes our physiognomy, it changes our appearance, it changes the words that we use and how we sound. It's amazing, it's fascinating. But I can sit there and look at a thumbnail image of 10 speakers or communicators, videos, whatever you want to call it. And I could just point out each person. That person is comfortable in their own skin. That person is trying to prove they're smart. Like just looking at a thumbnail, you can tell this. So you have to release that. So one of the reasons why people tend to like to listen to me live or read my stuff because it's just so, here it is. I'm not trying to prove anything. I speak in a way that is easily understood. Nobody says, oh, that guy's a genius, right? The reason for that is because that's not the goal, Marco. The goal, my goal, if somebody listens to me, my singular goal is that they're literally saying in their head, that's so obvious. Why are we not
Absolutely.
doing that? Like, that's the goal. That's the goal. And if somebody says that, that's a win because it means they feel like it's attainable. But if I'm listening to you, Marco, and I'm like, wow, man, that's so freaking amazing. Man, I could never do that. But man, I'm freaking Marco. Oh, man,
Yeah,
good. Guess what? You might look like a star, but that communication just stunk up the joint because it created a barrier between you and the audience. We don't want that. We want this to feel like it is available to everyone.
absolutely. And we can replicate this, even though sometimes we forget about it, to the content we put, having in mind sales. Because, okay, again, we try to be smart and look and whatever. At the end of, okay, people, oh, I love the way he writes or he speaks, but I'm not buying.
Well, you got to bring it back to sales. And you have to remember, too, when you're a teacher, and if you're doing content marketing, they ask you answer, ideally, you're thinking like a teacher. You've earned the right to ask people for their money. Can't forget that. Can't forget that. And so when you teach someone, you want to be very clear. This is a problem that I solve. This is a service that we offer. Here's how you can know and tell if it is or isn't a good fit for you. You don't want everybody's money, but you want to be very clear with who you are and who you're not a good fit for. That's the key. And you're so honest, that just comes out naturally, right? You just say it. And so you're not worried about making every sale, but you do recognize the importance of making some sales because that's the circle of life. And eventually, we all have to keep the lights on and pay our internet bill. Otherwise, we're not going to be online. Sometimes people forget that. Um, if you've looked at bankruptcy square in the face, as I have, you tend to not forget that. If you're going to lose your home because the bank's going to take it, you tend to recognize I have to generate revenue. That's why content should start with sales. Sales first. Could sales use it? Can I integrate it in my sales process? Because if it's shortening the sales cycle and increasing closing rates, you're off to a really good start. It's a good place to be.
Absolutely, because I think, and again, we have this thing. I think it's kind of human, because we think, okay, if we don't go to a really broad audience, it's kind of. I think I'm not good enough for them. I think my business is not. I won't get. I won't be throwing customers outside my door. But on the opposite side, it's. And I like to bring this example. Let's think you're an uncle and you have 10 nieces to send a gift, okay, and you have $100. How do you think it's more probable to please them all? Buying with that $100 a gift for all of them, the same gift, okay, or buy with okay, you split that $100. You can buy one $10 present to each of them, but at least you know, okay, she like this, she's like that, and usually people say, oh yeah, it makes sense. And I think it's the main problem is, you know, I won't, I want to get to everyone. I want to reach them all.
And you don't. You don't want to reach them all. And the longer you're in business, the more you realize this. That's what's so interesting about it. It's like the longer you're in business, ideally, you should get more and more specific with who your ideal buyer is, who your ideal customer is, who your ideal fit is. When we start in business, we have a very, tend to at least, have a very broad sense as to those things. And that's what leads to frustration. That's what leads to doing things that are out of scope or outside of our really comfort zone or our strength area. We say yes because we feel like, oh, I need the cash, or we say yes because we're coming from this scarcity mindset, whereas strength comes from specificity. It comes from knowing who you are. It comes from a willingness to say no. It comes from a strong communication style of saying, this is a good fit for you if, but it's not a good fit for you if. That's a beautiful place. Again, most people are not there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Marcus, time flies. We are almost reaching the end. I'm just gonna ask you to summarize somehow this conversation. If you have to give three advices to someone to start tomorrow, they ask you answer journey, which would they be?
Well, just from a practical standpoint, I want you to sit down with a pen and paper and write down every single question that you've ever been asked by a prospect. Not so much about your company, not about you, but just about the industry, the thing that you sell, the service or product that you sell, but not about you, not about your company. Write those questions down, okay? And ask yourself, how many of these have I addressed well on my website? Chances are not nearly as many as you should. And once you've done that, say, okay, now I know what I need to do. Don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze it. Make that your essentially the pillars of your content approach in the weeks that lie ahead. Make it a religion, this idea of content production and teaching. Don't make it optional. It's something that you do. You get up in the morning, take a shower for some of you. That's what you do. Well, you want to approach content the same way. But Marco, this was fun. Again, I hope everybody connects with me on or follows me on LinkedIn. If anybody wants, they can reach out to me directly. It's Marcus at marcussheridan.com. Marcus at marcussheridan.com. There's also a free They Ask You Answer course that's 2 hours that's available on my marketing agency's site, which is impactplus.com. So it's literally a 2-hour course for free. The only requirement is an email, and you can join. It's a free version of Impact Plus. It's our online learning portal. It's really a beautiful, amazing portal. So if anybody wants to really just do a deep dive on that, you can do it. Doesn't cost you a thing. It's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. Well, Marcus, thank you so much. It was a pleasure and an honor to have you here. I will keep tracking you
I hope
on,
so.
on LinkedIn. And thank of all of you who are watching us on Amazon, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. And I will be back later. So bye bye.